Together, I've walked you through building this beautiful machine. Then we've gone through flashing and configuring the BIOS, installing Windows and all of the drivers, the updates, and all of the applications to get you up and ready for whatever it is you use your computer for. But now at this point, I'm going to show you how this machine performs in games. Then I'm going to show you how loud the machine is with the noise levels, the dB levels, and also the thermals. So I've taken you from the very beginning to the very end of a machine. So without wasting any time, let's get started. So using the NVIDIA app, you can see we're in maybe 160. We're doing great performance-wise, and everything looks great. Actually, we're at 4K on the 5060. So it's doing amazing things for this card. So let me show you the settings real quick. Again, we're at 4K. Of course, the higher the resolution, the more strain you're putting on the card. Under graphics, we're using DLSS Super Resolution and DLSS Frame Generation at 4x. Let's go ahead and drop this down. This is typically what I play at, 2K. And instead of rendered bordered, since we're at a 4K resolution, I'm going to do full screen. And now the performance is almost doubled, almost. And the visuals are still amazing. Mind you, we're not at 4K anymore, we're at 2K, but everything still looks great. Now, this is more of a 2K card, so if I come over here, now remember all these settings here. So if I come over here and just, let's go ahead and put it at medium ray tracing. And it's still doing great. It's doing like it was at 4K with DLSS and everything turned up to the max. And it's still looking great now. Now DLSS is still on, but remember that was at 4K. So let's go ahead and turn off DLSS. Let's go ahead and just leave Ray Tracing Ultra. And let's turn off that. Let's turn off that. Okay. And we need to restart to get the full effect, but to show you what I'm going to show you should be good enough. So we're at Ray Tracing Ultra, and that's hurting. We're not even at 60. So coming over here, let's go ahead and try without ray tracing, right? That's probably going to make a big difference, right? So we'll come under here, turn that off, and let's resume. I mean, it helps. We're not in the 30s anymore, but you know, even though the 5060 is a great card, you're gonna have to make some sacrifices if you want to play. You know, maybe instead of high, you want to do medium. There you go. So now it's working great. And again, you know, restarting it is going to help a ton, or it's going to help. But now you get an idea of how great DLS is to performance. So bumping it back up. Let's put this back to Ultra with DLSS and frame generation at 4x. And let's put this back to 4K. Look at that. DLSS is amazing. Now we're using ray tracing. Everything is at Ultra. And the graphics still look beautiful. They look a lot better. Ray tracing reflection looks amazing. Look at that on the car. But anyway, let's jump on to the next game. All right, so before I get too out there, right now we're at 4K and we can see we're in the 70s, low 70s, upper 60s. Game's running great, but of course we can get more. Again, we're at 4K using the NVIDIA App settings. So it wants us to go at great resolutions and great everything with as little hit to performance as possible. Everything ultra, high, disable for these, which I will disable those anyway, but the NVIDIA app does a great job. I want a little more though, so I'm going to drop this down from 4K to 2K, and you're gonna see the performance is amazing. So double the performance. Now here we don't have DLSS, we don't have multi-frame generation or anything along those lines. This is just rasterized. Everything's beautiful here. PUBG is such a great game. And in a little bit, you'll see some of the kills. I would partially attribute them to the performance. A lot of it is just me. I'm just kidding. But anyway, let me run around a little bit. Let's go ahead, cause some havoc, and let's see what we can do. Then also, top left-hand corner, we see all the frames per second and everything. 1% lows, 0.1% lows. We see the GPU temperature, memory, and CPU temperature as well. Everything's great. The system is performing amazing. Not as good, or should I say better than I thought it would have. I don't know what he thought he'd do with that, but good job, I think, maybe? Who knows? All right. Took care of that one, nice and easy. Oh well, you saw how far we got in PUBG. The game ran great. At 4K and even at 2K, it ran beautifully and the temps were great. Now let's jump on to the next game. So these are the settings for Black Myth Wukong. We can see we're at 4K, anti-aliasing, very high, post effects, everything very high. We have ray tracing disabled, which we'll change that in a minute. And then we have DLSS enabled right over here, use application settings, and frame generation mode, use application settings. All right, so with those settings I showed you, you can see we're 100 and something frames per second. And whenever you're using DLSS, it seems 0.1 and 1% lows don't really show very well. Oopsie. But you can see just how well the game's performing. Let me show you the settings in here. So again, we're at 4K, which is beautiful for a 5060 Ti. Coming over here, DLSS set to 4x. Ray tracing is off. Let's go ahead and turn it on at very high, and it will cause a restart. So 1 sec, I'll be right back. All right, so now with ray tracing enabled, we can see she looks beautiful. Game's a little dark, but that might be my fault, my settings. But you can see just how beautiful the game looks. Ray tracing, we're in the 70s and 80s. Let's go ahead and drop this down to 2K. There's no need for 4K. And you can see it doesn't help performance a whole lot, does it? Partially because of DLSS, of course. I don't play this game a whole lot, so. But now we're in the 90s, so it's helped a little tiny bit. Usually it helps a lot more than that. But let's go in here, and that's now with ray tracing enabled on very high, so that's beautiful. But, you know, you want to use the full force of the card. So let's go ahead and turn off DLSS. Let's set it to TSR, and you're going to notice now what big a difference DLSS does in the game. This is almost a slideshow. Look how choppy it is. And there's no way we're going to be able to fight. Well, let's try a little tiny bit. But there's no way we're going to be able to fight a boss like this. Kind of gives me a headache. So let's go ahead and put DLSS back on. And I don't know what I changed with that, but I changed something. There we go. Set it back to 4x. That's what it was before. Ah, beautiful. And then let's go over here. Let's see anything else that we could play with here. So we tried with DLSS off. We saw how horrible that was. Using ray tracing, which is that much more beautiful. Everything's set to very high except for shadow quality. Let's go ahead and put that up a little tiny bit. Yeah, that's what we want to do. And now we're in the 80s. Look at that. Anyway, that's the performance of Black Myth Wukong with and without DLSS, and ray tracing. So it helps a ton, and we don't need it, but if you don't want to use it, you're going to be at a slideshow level. Anyway, let's jump on to the next game. All right, so we are going to jump into Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Here are the settings. Epic, full, and we're at 4K with RTX DLSS at performance. Ray tracing here, we can see that, and DLSS. So let's just play that real quick. All right, so the NVIDIA app gives us everything at 4K. It really loves to do 4K for some reason. And mind you, it looks beautiful. It works. We're at 60 something frames per second. It is 100% playable. But maybe we want to get it a little bit better. So let's come into settings real quick. And let's go into visuals. And again, we're at 4K, everything epic over here. We have VSync off, thankfully. Ray tracing, that's not on. I thought it said it was on. All right, so now ray tracing and DLSS was on, set to performance. Frame generation is off right now. So let's get out of here real quick. And now with ray tracing, it's starting to be playable, but let's get out of here. So let's go ahead and first off, let's drop this to 2K. The 5060 again can handle 4K, we've seen it, but we're going to get much better performance out of 2K. All right, so we're almost at 100 frames per second. So that's beautiful. And we are using ray tracing as well. Let's come back up here. We're using ray tracing. We're set to DLSS upscaler performance. Let's go ahead and disable that. We don't need that, right? So coming out of there. And now we're back into the, even worse than before. All right, so definitely not a good thing. Let's go ahead, turn that back on. Let's try quality, see what that does. Also, we're much better already, so that's awesome. All right, cool. And now let's go ahead and we'll leave that there. Let's go ahead and turn on frame gen. Let's see if that helps us any. And motion blur is off. It should always be off. It's horrible. All right, now we're at over 100, which is beautiful. Oh yeah.
There's the fighting running. Feel the pain. Fairly. Not bad.
So that's running beautifully. Let's see what he had. I don't remember. All right, cool. So now the game is running amazing, 130 frames per second. Wrong turn. But we can see just how beautiful this is. The frame rate is amazing. And is that the way? No. Let's see, anything else we could play with over here? And we're not using FSR, we're on NVIDIA, and we're under the quality DLSS 3 upscaler, so that's beautiful, utilizing NVIDIA frame generation. And look at those beautiful graphics. Let's see. I also haven't played this game in quite some time, so again, you don't need to use DLSS. You really don't have to. It'll play fine without it, but it's gonna hurt, it's gonna chug, and we can see just how beautiful the performance is with DLSS enabled, even utilizing ray tracing at 4K and 2K. The 5060 does amazing on its own, but DLSS helps a ton. Now, one other thing that you may not have known, playing all those 4 games, I was recording directly off of software utilizing the 5060's hardware encoding, so that is going to take a little bit more of a hit than usual on the card, but still everything played great. That's pretty impressive. So sorry about the light on the PC, but you can see we're probably about 2 feet away. About 41 dB. There are a few little clicks here and there in the room because of my NAS, but that's incredibly quiet for a PC. Now, we just came from a game. Everything played great in the game. So let's try over here, bumping it up with IDA 64. So we are going to be doing stress testing. Just turned it on. Again, we're about 41, 42. And I'll come back in a minute. Right now, our temperatures are at anywhere as low as 34 to 65 degrees per core. You can see that right over here. Now we'll come back in half an hour. So now 32 minutes later, we can see the highest the temperature has gotten is 75 degrees, maybe 76 degrees. And the noise level maybe has gone up 2 dB. So the system is incredibly quiet for being such a powerhouse. And while not 100% idle, we can see 28 degrees. It's the lowest it's hit in a little while. And still, it's doing amazing, all on a 240 millimeter liquid cooling unit, which blows me away. And we can see here in Wondershare Filmora, the video editing suite. I use DaVinci, but I like to use Filmora for screen capturing and everything. But we can see that it is utilizing CUDA, beautiful. That'll definitely help out a ton. And then when we go to export it, but we can see here the export resolution, we want the highest quality. Let's go ahead and export that. And again, I'm screen recording while I'm doing this, so everything is going to take a tremendous hit. And we're editing, we can see right over here, 17 minutes and a half, and it's doing an incredibly decent job. So the 5060 is not only great for gaming, but it's also great for editing as well. Mind you, the CPU and 64 gigs of RAM are going to help out a ton, but it's good to see that this card could carry its own weight. Exporting that only took 12 minutes and 27 seconds. In this video, I've taken you through gaming with ray tracing enabled with DLSS without all of that and everything in between in 4 games. Then we've also gone through noise testing and heat testing to see how hot and how loud this PC gets, and then how cool and then how quiet this PC gets as well. And then we've gone also through some video and audio encoding just so that you could see what kind of performance you can get inside of the system. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know what you think down below. This is Iggy with ThisBytesForYou out. See you guys.